Hello and welcome to How to Practice in 20 Minutes. I'm Cordelia. This is the third series. This is the third episode in the series, and you can check out the others in the description below. Today I'm going to talk about how you can practice relaxed octaves. This is equally useful and great for fast running octaves or jumping octaves or even melodic octaves, which can actually be sometimes even more tricky. Short chunks of practice can be really valuable actually and beneficial as long as you are being focused and choosing a specific thing to work on in that time. I've used this practice method for a lot of the big repertoire, Rack 3, Prokofiev 3, what else, Liszt, B minor sonata. So it has worked really well for me. I'm going to show you the exact process that I go through for working on difficult octave passages like this. Okay, so tell me if you disagree, but I think that the main issue with octaves is relaxation, because you have to maintain this reach of an octave. If you're doing it over and over again, then you start to get hard in the hand and in the wrist, and it's very easy to get injured in your wrist and also in the thumb joint. I've seen some horrible sort of tensed thumbs doing octaves, and it can also travel up into your arm and elbow. This is, of course, especially an issue if you have small hands, but I really think that this is important for anyone, even if you can easily reach an octave. There are, of course, many ways to work on octaves, but today I'm going to focus on splitting the octave into the top and bottom voices. So that would be the thumb for the bottom voice and the fifth finger for the top voice. If I'm learning octave repertoire, then I will practice as much as I possibly can, just using either the top or the bottom voice. Especially if I'm note learning, I would for sure be note learning just with one voice, not note learning with the full octave all the time, because that gets tiring so quickly. So to use the example of the Chopin Scherzo, which you heard at the beginning of the video, if I was learning this now, I would be starting off like this. And then the top voice. Fifth fingers are really tricky. I've said fifth finger, but actually it could be the fourth finger as well. And this is something to really make sure of at this point, is which fingers you're using for each octave. Because it's very easy to just practice it all with fifths when it's slow. But then when you try to speed it up, sometimes you will have to use a fourth. So for example, here I do this one with a 4, because it's much faster than using 2 5s. So that means I need to practice that. I need to really know in my brain that that's my fingering. So you can see that there is a lot of relaxation built into the movement. So my wrist is relaxed, my hand is relaxed, and there's a lot of flexibility within my hand and within each finger as I play the notes. And this means that I'm learning the boundaries of the octaves and I'm learning the patterns of the notes without building in tension from playing octaves. That means that when I put the octaves together, it's already part of the gesture that it feels relaxed and that my hands are flexible and have movement within them. Okay, so the second issue with octaves is how to build up the security and accuracy. Often when you have octave writing, it's because it needs to sound very full and strong. But the problem is that if you're feeling a little bit uncertain of the notes or of the patterns, it actually sounds the opposite. It sounds weak and tentative. So we need to find a way to build up the strength and confidence of the octaves without getting overtired or overstretching the hand and building in tension to how we're playing them. This is how you eventually can build them up to be really fast and clear. I really build up the strength of my octaves and the speed of them by working either top or bottom voice at one time. So I'm going to show you what I mean. First, I'm going to do a bit from Schubert's Sonata in C minor. The first movement is really quite a mean start because almost at the very beginning you've got these jumping octaves which are very difficult to get accurate, and right at the beginning of the piece you want to have them very strong and confident, not to be worrying about whether you're going to miss the octaves. So I spent a long time working on this passage. Really building up the security of the thumb, but I'm not getting tired at all because I'm not stretching. Then I would do the same work with the fifth finger, which is often much harder. Getting a feeling for the intervals, the distances, and the gesture of the octaves, without tiring myself out by doing the full octave shape. So I'm really throwing that jump. It feels relaxed. There's no tension in my wrist at all. And then when I add the fifth finger, I'm still keeping that same sense of relaxation. So actually something interesting that's emerged here is how important the thumb is to having control over your octaves. When you're playing fast octaves, especially if you've got something else going on in the other hand, the thumb is really crucial to the sort of orientation of your brain, you know, where you're focusing. So I think it's because it's harder to see. If it's the fifth finger, it's like further out of your line of vision. So it's much easier to keep control of what's happening here. Also, the thumb is stronger. So I'm always using the thumb as my point of reference when I'm playing octaves. What you get from working in this way is before you even put the octave together, you've got two parts of the octave which are relaxed and secure. And that is a great basis for then starting to work on the actual octave shape. So in a minute, I'm going to talk about melodic octaves, but first I thought I'd show you the process that I would go through when working on an octavey passage. One of the Schumann Davidsbundlertanze. So I haven't actually played this piece since I recorded it 6 years ago. So I've just started to try and get it back in my fingers. And there's one little octave passage in the left hand, which is very awkward. I think because the notes are all quite close together and there's a variety of semitones and tones, so it gets quite confusing. Oops, that's because I didn't know properly what my thumb was meant to be doing. And again, I didn't know whether it was a tone or a semitone. So I hope you can see how relaxed my hand is. Of course, it's different when you make the octave shape, but what I'm getting at here is that by building the fundamental blocks of the octave in a relaxed way and a secure way, it's much easier to then get the full octave shape to feel relaxed and secure as well. So I feel like I know what's going on at the top of my octave and I know what's going on at the bottom of my octave. So now I'm going to try to put those together. And one quite useful way of doing this is you can split the octaves. So that feels super relaxed. It's very easy because the fifth finger is so light. So you're still getting the shape of the octave, but you don't have the hard shape. And mainly, as you can hear, focusing on the thumb, that's my reference point, and the fifth finger is loosely just following the thumb. Then I can start to try and put it together properly. Okay, so obviously I would do all of those stages a lot more, but that's a basic summary of the steps that I would go through to work on that passage. Now I'd like to talk a bit about melodic octaves. So often in romantic repertoire especially, you'll have a melody which is all in octaves. And of course this is often slower and maybe more gentle, but actually can be even trickier because it's so much more subtle. You have to make sure that the melody is perfectly turned, phrased beautifully, that you've got the balance right between the two voices. And of course all this has to happen in a beautiful legato as well, which is of course impossible when you're playing octaves. I'm going to use an example from the Schubert Sonata, and I actually think this is the trickiest passage in this piece. You've got a quite busy left-hand accompaniment going on in triplets, and then you've got this beautiful melody that has to be so perfectly shaped, and all of this while playing octaves and trying to stay relaxed. Maybe I'll play the passage first so you can kind of get a feel for what's going on. There are different focuses here, of course. It's not so much about speed, it's about the balance and the beauty of the sound of each voice. So firstly, I'm going to think about the thumb again, and what I'm mainly focusing on here is actually the shape and the direction of the melody that I'm playing. So actually, no, I should play without pedal. I'm using the pedal, but I shouldn't because it's a much better test without the pedal. Trying to get the legato. To isolate any problem areas or issues where there might be a bump or some unevennesses in the melody. So this was one place. What I'm trying to do is to get the thumb to be a beautiful melody in itself, just without even thinking about octaves at all. I think I could work on that thumb for a long time, but let's go to the fifth finger. I should have said that you need to work out the fives and fours in octaves. You can't work it out just by playing one voice because you won't know what's comfortable. So first of all, you have to work out where you're going to use a 4. So for me, this is comfortable with a 4. Anyway, I know the fingering already, so let's just skip. Okay, I was trying to get a beautiful shape through the phase and it didn't work because I had a big bump in my last bar. You can probably see that I could spend a long time doing this just to really perfect each voice. But in the interest of time, let's skip to the bit where I put them together. Again, you can do the splitting for really controlling the levels of your two voices. So if you want to have more in the thumb, then like this. Oh, that was the wrong finger. It's much more focus on the thumb, and then the fifth finger is light. In fact, in this section, I would want more on the top. So I would probably do the opposite way around. It's difficult. Okay, and then I would start to work on the balance of the two voices. And I feel pretty confident doing this because I know that I can already play each voice individually. So then I'm going to make a change because we get to this D flat major section, which to me is just like a sort of velvety, soft feeling. So I'm actually going to bring out the thumb more here. to give it this kind of soft and internal feeling. I don't want it to be too bright. If I bring out the top, it's going to be brighter. So I'm focusing on the inner part. Again, I could work split. So hopefully that has given a bit of a sense of the work that I would go through in a passage like this. This would be spread over many days of work. But those are the basic things that I would want to be doing, I think, to practice this in a relaxed way and a subtle way to get, I think the subtlety of the octaves is maybe underestimated in a passage like this, but that's where the sound colour will come from. Exactly how much is on top and how much is on bottom will determine the sound effect that you produce. What we're really aiming for with a passage like this of melodic octaves is that it sounds like a duet. It's not just octaves as one kind of unit. It's two voices that are playing in unison, and with all the subtlety that goes with that. So they're not going to be exactly balanced. They're going to be undulating and varying in terms of how they interact together. And so I think working with the two voices separate is the first step towards this kind of subtlety. The benefits of this practice method for octaves are more relaxation built into the movement, better accuracy of both the top and the bottom of the octave, better mental control by using the thumb as your focus point and really knowing that inside out, more subtlety of balance between the two voices by working on them each individually, and lastly, better control of the shape and the direction of your phrases. Please share in the comments what octave repertoire you're working on. If you have any questions, let me know how this works for you, if you find it useful. And if you like the video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and to subscribe for more ideas. The next video is one I'm really excited about. It's going to be tips and tricks for practicing Ravel's Ondine. So I hope you will join me for that one, and I will see you next time.